I just noticed that last week there was a call by Bill Gates to all the billionaires of the United States to donate half of their income while they are alive yet. And so I said to Bill, I don't know any, I'm not a billionaire, but I do know one I could ask, probably. I grew up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin where I plowed fields, milked cows, baled hay, and I do know how to castrate. That comes in handy sometimes. And in that world that I lived in, I didn't see possibilities. I didn't know what was out there in the world. And I remember my father giving me a vision that because I could type very quickly, that perhaps I could work as a receptionist at the local law firm. And that was the vision that was available to me in those days. And so I'm so honored to have had people along the way who showed me different possibilities. And if there's anything that we can ever do to help others see that possibility, I'm always so in. This year on Easter morning, we had the honor of taking 4 young men, along with our son, out for Easter brunch. And on that morning, we got to learn a lot about these young men, and we discovered that on their Easter break, they had just come back from South Carolina, where they spent the entire week sleeping on a church floor while they cleaned up the homes and fixed up the roofs and the sinks and the toilets of poor people. And we asked the young man whose grandfather had started this whole concept, how did he get started doing this? And we found out, this young man said, we said, how did you come to live with your grandfather? He said, my mother was a stripper. At this point, I'm from Minnesota. We are Minnesota nice. All I could think was to my husband was, stop asking questions. And of course, if you've met my husband, you know that that was just the opening. We discovered that not only did he live with a stripper, but it was so bad that he went to go live with the stripper's brother, who didn't want him, and kept him in a cage until the 2nd grade, and social services discovered him. And then he got into so much trouble when he was moved to a different family that he was sent back to his mother, and that didn't go any better because he was driving vehicles through jewelry stores to break into them so that he could take money for drugs. And then suddenly the mother decided she couldn't handle this anymore, so she began to look for the father. Through DNA testing, they found out there were 3 potential candidates. One showed up to be his father. He had envisioned this father to be this wonderful human being, and he had all these pictures of how beautiful this was going to be. And when he met him, he found out his vision and his reality did not match. He was so disheartened, so broken. And one day his grandfather called. A man who owns 75 patents, is an engineer and owns a large company down in California. And he said, come live with me. And I said to young Carl, I said, Carl, how did you get to be such a great human being? As the tears were rolling down my cheeks, I said, Carl, what did you do to overcome this? He's on the path to becoming a podiatrist. He's an amazing, kind, brilliant young man. He said, for the first time in my life, someone gave me unconditional love. And I thought, if that's all it takes to heal somebody, here we are in the National Speakers Association, an organization that's about philanthropy, about changing people's lives, about making this huge difference. And I truly believe that life gives to the givers and takes from the takers, and the world has a perfect accounting system. And I don't know how you're feeling right now, but I am so humbled by this award because I know I've only just begun with what's possible to give to this organization and to this world. And I know that this is the organization that can truly shift the world. And so I challenge all of us to let this day be a day where we move forward and say, let's go find the Carls of the world. Let's give them the unconditional love. And let's make the masterful difference that we were called in our hearts that we know to make. Thank you so much for this award. I'm very